Hi, my name is Sally Barnard, an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer. Welcome to Call Me Zena, a true story into the spiritual realms. Join me as I sit and discuss the journey of self-discovery, and with the help of my spirit guides, it's time to trust your intuition. Sit with me and call in live 888-994-4995, Studio A. And now onto the show.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to my show from last week. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in, because it makes my show to know that I'm talking to a lot of people. And thank you to the beautiful people in not my studio, on my show today. Dawn, thank you. Sydney, thank you. And Freddie, thank you for joining me today. I don't give you enough acknowledgement. I want to do that now. Okay. So on with the show.
How can people call in and ask questions?
888-994-4995. Please call in. I'm here to answer the questions. If you have my book, put it in front of you right now and see what you may want to ask me. I'm here now for the next hour. So welcome to my show. Question time.
And the other thing is, your show today is not a simple show. It's not a simple ideology. It's a little bit different.
Yes.
Why don't you explain what we're trying to accomplish?
Well, we're actually going to talk about past lives. And if you recall, or if you meet someone in this lifetime where we are now, because that's where we are right now, and you feel like a connection with them, it could be even anger, but it could be something much lighter than that, and you feel very drawn to someone, call in with any questions if you've experienced something like that, and we'll do the best to sort of find out what that's all about. And I know for sure in the studio here that I have definitely known Dawn. We have talked about that. She was my daughter in another life. Freddie, I don't know how you would accept what I say to you, who you were. I think you were in another life. I feel it. But it's up for you, to see how you feel about that, if anything comes to your mind.
Well, I'm not going to be a daughter from another life, but...
well, you could have been. We do change sexes, too. It's not necessary.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Like, do you come back as, like, similar, or can it be completely different?
It actually can be completely different, but it also could have there's a yes to both of those. Yes, but also not necessarily so either.
Do you know who you were in your past life?
I know of one lifetime, yes, because
okay,
I
so
happen
we
to
can
have
have
somebody.
multiple.
Yeah, we have many lifetimes,
okay.
Yes. Yeah, which Dawn was in that lifetime.
And are we supposed to be improving?
Well, we're on a journey. So what we've, from here on in, it's a continuation of our journey. So there's certain things that we want to maybe straighten out in this particular lifetime with a person or a place or a thing. So we carry on from there, but we don't remember. If we remembered, it wouldn't really be that exciting. But as we grow, which I see you nodding your head, so you're relating to that a little bit.
Yeah, because I was going to ask that too. Because I've
well,
never thought in...
I have a mind reader.
Yeah, I haven't, yes, because I haven't thought that deeply into it and like the rules of it. I kind of thought that maybe you get one past life and then after that you're kind of done.
No, and actually you're not alone with thinking that, because when I first suddenly realized there were such a thing as past lives, and today it's much more acceptable. We've had many lives, but I only thought one. But no, it depends. I mean, there may be someone on their first incarnation on Earth, but I do believe that every one of us from a long time ago comes from somewhere else too. I say everyone, a lot of people do, but we just don't remember. We play a game here, basically. We just change costumes. And we do change sexes too. I think we have a prominent sex that we may come back more as a man or more as a woman, because it's up to us what we choose, and we may feel more comfortable with who we're going to be.
And present day is not the outcome of past lives experiences, but you sort of learn a lesson and you have to understand what those lessons represent. It doesn't mean, we were talking about this before, just because you learn how to paint, you can paint different things.
Exactly.
It can have different meanings, and definition can be different.
Right.
So how do you know when you've accomplished everything you're looking for?
Well, you don't really know, because we continue in another. I think we know when we pass from here and we go into another, let's call it a dimension. Then we do a life review, and through that we learn what we've. Some people learn. I know that I've learned a few lessons for sure in this lifetime, but we do see it when we pass. And you've heard many people talk about a life review, and they go over the things that we've done in this lifetime. But not only that, there's something called the Akashic Records, which holds all our lifetimes. So we can even go back then, because we remember them. We don't remember when we come back. I mean, there are people that do. My friend Aldo knew most of his, well, he didn't bring them all into this lifetime, but he certainly could tell me many, many lifetimes that he'd been in, and that's how I know one of my lifetimes, because I was with him in that lifetime.
Yeah, I think I first got introduced with the idea of past lives from watching a show. I think it's called Ghost Inside My Child. I think it's like a Lifetime show or something, but it talked about like different stories of people who have children that, you know, would say things or have random connections with things that didn't make sense. And they'd say, oh, I was a firefighter, I was, you know, something like that. And seems like kids, like younger.
They do, because when a baby comes in, they're in and out of the two worlds, so to speak. And there are many children, and that's interesting because you know that, Dawn. So you just congratulations on your grandbaby. But what happens is that sometimes children come in with memory, but they'll talk very often, and they've recorded this of young children, and they're, say, 2 or 3 years old, and they'll say, you weren't my mummy in this life, I had another mum or another dad. But they've actually recorded quite a few of people that were flying in the wars. They were shot down in airplanes, and the children will say, but I was Tommy, and I was shot down. And they don't know that they continue with this in this life, remembering what they learned. It's usually, I think, a past life of the last one. That's what they've recorded. But many, many children today are doing that because parents are more open to the story. Still, they may say, oh, don't be ridiculous, don't talk about that. But there's a lot of encouragement now to bring children out and for them to talk about previous lives. And as they get older, the memory goes and fades. That's what I'm hearing anyway.
Well, I got a question because past lives always have a persistent message in present life. So let's say that I recognize Sydney from a past life, but she doesn't know me from Adam, can't see past, you know, she can't see it. To her, it's like, wow, it's interesting to hear it, but I can't see it. So how do you handle a situation like that where two people are on complete different planes, though one sees
I think it's more like, you know, when you're ready, the teacher appears. That's what they're telling me. I think a lot of the time that we do that, usually the other party is acceptable of what's happening. I mean, we recognized each other, Dawn, and I did not know Dawn, but you came out with the fact that you'd even seen my artwork. I was receptive to that, but I think had I have, you know, not known, I think we meet. Nothing is accidental. There's
but
synchronicity.
Is it easier because, I mean, you look at Dawn, and Dawn's a female. Is it easier than to say, oh, well, you and I, we had a past life? And then to complicate it even more, I may have been a daughter of yours in a past life. I mean, I'm a man, and here I am, I'm throwing a different wrench into this whole thing.
Yeah.
Is anybody ever going to believe us?
Well, I think, and I do this all the time. If I feel something from another lifetime that I knew that person or that had a message for, let's say a message for them from that other lifetime, the very first, I do it now, and I've noticed the difference over the years. I say, do you believe in past lives? I do that, maybe other people don't. And the majority of people, when I say that, I have people thinking, well, we're still, you know, we're thinking there is another lifetime. But I'll ask them, and if they say yes, then I feel free to say whatever I feel at that point. If they say no, I would probably stop. I'd say, well, keep an open mind, but that's up to you.
Well, the object of the game here is that you're not remembering the physicality of the person.
Right.
It's the energy of the person. So when you say past lives and you look at somebody, it doesn't mean that I see Dawn as Dawn. Dawn could have been Richard for all I know. But it's the energy within the core.
This is very true because you can't, you know, especially if someone didn't believe in past lives and you suddenly say to them, but you were, if it's a woman, you were a man. And I mean, you've got to be a little tactful with this, but also but when you do talk about it with somebody else, and I believe that does happen a lot, the other person will be very receptive of that and say, well, who do you think I was? Or I feel it too. I feel I know you. And then you can go into a conversation that would go a little bit deeper and say, because you might get flashbacks at that time of some place that you've seen, which you did from some of my art, I think, and we get to talk about it. And you can, I believe we have definitely figured out which lifetime that we were together in. I don't know if Freddie was there, but Dawn and I were definitely, as Aldo told me, he didn't actually tell me, I was drawing from that lifetime. So I had it in my memory somewhere, but it hadn't shown itself when I was drawing that it was from another lifetime. But where do I get all these things that are coming into my head? Somewhere.
But you're reflecting Dawn's energy, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm reflecting, yes, because we
Dawn, the
are
human
energy.
being.
Everything is energy, really. If I give messages, it's energy that I am receiving. I don't always, I am a medium and I'm a psychic, but I don't always see the person, but I can feel that person through energy. Someone will say, I have said sometimes that person's got short grey hair because, or black hair. They're showing us what they want us to see. They don't necessarily look like that anymore. But they know that our image, like we recognize people when we pass over. You've heard many people that have come back, you know, from a situation where they've had an accident or somewhere and they carried on.
Well, I just want to make sure that the problem,
Yeah.
so that people understand what we're trying to accomplish, and Sydney, you're going to help me with this, is that I want people to understand that what you're looking at is energies. So I may have said, I've met Sydney in another life, because I get a different feel for her than I do other kids. It doesn't mean that I saw Sydney as a female or a male or anything of the sort. It means that that energy, I've run into that particular sphere.
Exactly, because we don't necessarily look like we did in another lifetime. So you wouldn't recognize the person if they're here in this lifetime because they look totally different.
Right.
It has to be an energy of some kind that otherwise, you know, you can have some similarities. But again, if you change sexes, you're going to look different. If you're a man, you know, a woman not necessarily is going to look like the man they were in the last lifetime. So it's just, I'm not going to say common sense, because none of this, people, you either understand it or you don't, but it's hard in this world.
For you, it's common sense.
You use common sense, thank you. Yeah,
because what's going to happen is that people watching this show, you just have to understand that we're asking questions, and we have lists of questions here. That have to deal with energies. Now, people may say, I saw Dawn in a dream, or I saw something that looked like Dawn, or what you're looking at is you're looking at the presence, you're looking at the core of these people. And I want to make sure that people understand this, because this is a very difficult question to ask people.
It is, and I think I was lucky enough actually for my memory somewhere, I didn't know that I had that memory, is that I was drawing buildings from other lifetimes, and I was drawing the signs and symbols that they used in those days. I didn't know where that was coming from, but I was able to check that because I went in at that time, I could go into the internet. I'd never seen it on the internet, but I looked up specific times and dates because Alda had given me that. That was my guide here on Earth. And I saw some of my artwork that I would, not today, not this type of artwork, but I was sketching many things of buildings and signs. Well, I had to believe this. There was no way that I couldn't, because I know what was happening to me. I can't make someone believe that happened to me, but it happened to me. So I am 100% sure that I was in those lifetimes.
It sounds like everyone probably has like traits and things that they do that do come from a past life, but like you said, they just don't know it yet.
They don't know it, correct.
And it was a long time ago, but I had an experience with mushrooms, and then during that I realized, I was like, wow, like my physical body really doesn't matter. It's like, it's really about your soul. And
you know what, you're 100, I didn't want to interrupt you, but that, I mean, I'm not encouraging anybody to do any sort of drugs. Absolutely not. But when you've had, which we were discussing last week, an out-of-body experience, you are never the same when you come back. Well, I say that broadly, but the majority of people aren't, because you've experienced something else. You've been out of your body or wherever you were. You knew there had to be something greater than what we know here, a higher power, a place, a thing. You come back with more, let's say, curiosity, because you're more accepting of it. Yes,
I definitely agree. That is how I felt.
And do you come back with more questions?
Well, with curiosity, the questions would flow, yes, because I knew I wanted to meet people. I didn't know I'd have someone so quickly in my life as Aldo, but I knew when that happened, after I met Aldo, that were there more people like me? I asked him that question. He says, you will meet plenty more people like you. A lot of people will talk about it if you open up a little bit, as you just did just now, because they know they've experienced something. It is normal, but let's say out of the norm, because suddenly they're experiencing things that we couldn't talk about in other lifetimes. You know, there are many stories how witches were burnt and all these things that are associated with the woo stuff. But today it's much more open. They called it New Age at one point, but we're getting much more into what they call a shift here. And you can see it happening, the shift. That's okay. That's spirit calling us.
You know, the funny thing is that certain people see things a certain way, and you take her age group, and then you take others. And it isn't until you point it out that all of a sudden, Sally, then they sit and they go, you know, this happened to me, you know? Because you don't sit and dwell on it. You don't sit and meditate on it. You don't learn from it until you do.
And you know how I'm seeing that so much more today because we are energy. When a situation like that happens to you, suddenly see other people come, you've seen it here, come into your life. It's not coincidence that you're sitting in that chair, Sydney, because I believe you know you've had some sort of experience. And we seek out people then at that point, but for some reason they do find us too. It happens.
Do you think our personalities stay the same?
I love that question because I didn't know that, and I still can't give you the actual answer for sure, but I think our basic personality does, I mean, depending on which life we choose, and from male or female, we know that there's a difference in thinking for sure, right? But that was just a little joke.
Little joke, yeah, it's very little.
But you basically keep your personality, but if you're a man, you're going to look at it maybe from a different way or come out with something different than a woman, because you do take over the sex of the person that you are. So
right, and then your environment, like where you're raised, is going to be different too.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, so it's like your core personality, the base of things will be the same.
Perfect. Yes.
Because other things will be different.
But
obviously, you can't be 100% the same.
No, but I don't think in answer to the question too, I don't think our personality, it changes, but it changes. It's the same. I'm going to say they're telling me say frequency. We're on that frequency of the personality that we are. Basically, I am who I am, and I am who I am. I'm sure I was that way in the lifetime that we knew, but maybe a little more harsh.
No, we might have been misunderstood.
Yes.
But circumstances of life change people.
Yes.
And things that happen, like I know, for the good and the bad. Like for me on Friday. The circumstances confirmed everything I knew, but it was just this level of vibrational energy just is beyond even explaining and comprehending. You just have to feel it and believe it.
Right.
Because it really doesn't matter what anyone else feels or believe, as long as you do.
As long as
you recognize, you know, I talk to my angels, and I don't know whether I did that in the past life. I think I must have.
You did.
But people who don't talk to angels and people who don't believe think I'm probably a little out there and a little crazy, but for me it works.
But do you find, because you've been doing that, I assume most of your life, but more people are more understanding, even if they don't understand it. I mean, there's a lot that don't want to know at all, but let's talk about the people that are like maybe, maybe not. The maybe nots are becoming maybe. It's gradually changing quite a lot.
It's funny because when I first met Freddie, even when I was a kid growing up and even working for my dad, I always talked to the fairies. And they would tease me that I would talk to, at the time all I knew were Disney fairies, right? It's all I could relate to. But I would talk to them and I could ask for things and they would happen. And that sounds as woo-woo as it possibly can, but I knew it did. And as I've grown and evolved, I realized it's not the Disney princesses fairies I'm talking to. I'm actually talking to the greater realm. But that was my way as a kid of knowing what I could do, but I thought everybody did that.
But do you know something really strange, and it just dawned on me right now as you were saying that. I did not know necessarily that you were talking to fairies. As I have been, I've always been attracted to like fairies, so I bought an ornament of a fairy. I don't think we'd had this
Be
conversation.
like
but I felt
Tinkerbell or the
compared-
things that were normal for me to talk to. But I knew I could talk to her and I could ask for things. And I remember my dad would come in and say he needed something. I'm like, hey, Dad, what do you need? I'll ask the
the
fairies.
But I gave you that ornament, Dawn, without knowing how into this that you were with fairies. I had it at home. I don't know why I bought it, because I wasn't that in touch with fairies, but I knew it was for you.
So
That was when we first met.
I've always
right?
been this way.
Yeah,
It's just as a
crazy.
child, you relate to the things as
With
makes
what we're
sense as
told,
a
yeah,
child, right?
yeah.
And as an adult, I realized that was always my belief system, and now it's just greater and bigger than it is.
And a lot of people are saying there are such a thing as fairies today,
Mm-hmm.
whereas they didn't. They're just in another dimension. But the ones that are lucky enough to see them can see them.
So I
Many,
guess,
many stories.
was I like this in a past life?
Yes, absolutely. I don't
Do you
even
think
have to
Freddie
think
was like whoever, or Sydney, they were, their
I believe
personalities
Sydney
and who they
definitely
were?
was.
Freddie, you're
Absolutely.
questionable.
Freddie, we'll talk in private.
But you know your past life, and it wasn't
No,
maybe it
wasn't.
was spectacular, Sally. Maybe it's history and the way it was written that makes it not spectacular.
I think that she was very, I don't want to bring out who
Maybe
it
she
but
was
she was
just a
misunderstood.
Strong-willed and
Very
trying
strong.
to survive as
Yes, yes.
as royalty without a
Yeah.
spouse,
And
and she had
Alda-
to survive.
And Alda had told me little bits and pieces because I was very friendly with him that life. He was someone also prominent, and he would tell me. But my validation for the fact that I was definitely, who I was, because I'm drawing things from that lifetime that I didn't even have any idea that I was this lady.
So can we talk about that? Because
Yeah.
things happen in life, and it may be a coincidence and another coincidence, and you may know who you are in a past life. Then all of a sudden, all these puzzle pieces line up to confirm what you knew. Now, nobody else knows who you were, or they do. Does it matter? And is it just validation of confirming who you are and your present calling?
I think it's validation of who we are and I perfectly said, Dawn, in the calling of who we are today. Because I was very shy as a child, actually, and it might have made me feel less shy if I had known who I was in another lifetime, because you're only going to bring in from lifetimes where it's going to benefit you in this lifetime. Otherwise, if we've had all these lifetimes, you're going crazy with all these characters, let's
I know.
say.
Someone told me what I know now then as a child. Well, they did, and I kind of freaked out. They
Yeah.
told me I was from another planet, but they
Well,
were probably
that's
right.
yeah.
That's another lifetime,
That's
though.
another
How
lifetime.
many lifetimes can we bring back into our consciousness
Only
now?
what would be relevant for us to learn our journey in this lifetime, because all it is a journey, and a lot of this is just our imagination, but our imagination becomes real because we're bringing it into this lifetime. So is it important to know who you were? Not necessarily, but there might be certain aspects of a particular dominant person that you were that was maybe recognized in history to know, or there's a lot of people that say they're Cleopatra. I mean, not everybody is who they say they are, but there is one person maybe that's come back who, I wasn't Cleopatra, but who has come back and has some recall of that particular lifetime, if it's going to help you in this lifetime.
Actually, Dawn's mother was Cleopatra.
She always thought she was.
You know,
A
it's
lot of-
funny.
oh, did you hear that noise?
It's funny, Sally, you bring questions. So obviously, if in a past life you didn't get an answer to a question, then it follows you again.
If
and
it's going to
again.
be significant for you, if it
Well,
helps you.
it's a question is going to be significant.
Yeah, then you'll bring, yes,
You're going to bring it to, even your answers have questions.
exactly, because even in this lifetime, you know, you can have a same situation over and over because you're learning a theme from that, whatever it be. So you can say, even in relationships, you can pick somebody that you're attracted to and vice versa, and then that can finish. How many times do people say, I've done it again, I'm picking the same person? But there's a reason why you do that.
You're not
There's a
good at it?
reason.
You're not good at it?
Well, it could be many things, or there's karma between the person that you know, you pick that certain type. But until you get it right, and it could be it can go this way. It could be 4 more lifetimes from now to get that right. Because we're on a journey, let's say, of discovery, of enjoying, of living life the way that we really should. This is a very hard lesson in this particular lifetime, because we've had so much negativity here, but we're here to learn and get over these lessons. I believe eventually, from my belief, I keep calling it my world today, that we're going through something that life is very difficult right now for a tremendous amount of people, and it's very negative. But sometimes people say it has to get worse to get better, and that could be actually what's going on now here.
Do you feel you had a past life with your children?
Yes, I do, definitely my daughter. And way before I knew any of this, I used to say to people, I feel like she's my mother, because she used to boss me around a lot. Louise, my daughter passed. But if you're listening, she'll go, yeah, you're right, I did. And she probably was my mother, and I didn't understand that then. I just knew that I was being bossed by my daughter. But that's okay. My son, yes. I also, yes. I don't know who he was, and because we come in with our families and our friends that we've had from soul families, and that's exactly what it is. It's a soul family. But there could be lots of people in that family, and there could be just a few, depending how long and how many lifetimes we've had on this particular earth.
That makes me think of my mom, because we're like super close, and it's like sometimes really creepy. Like, she just knows things. Like, I don't even have to tell her. We don't even have to speak on the phone for her to know. I think it was a couple days ago. She called me at like nighttime. She was like, Sydney, I woke up. I had a vision. Like, I feel something isn't right with you. What's going on? And I was like, how'd you know? It was nothing like, a big deal, but I was just going through just little life things and was feeling down. But I felt like I was covering it up pretty good. But then, like, just out of nowhere, she just felt something.
Well, there is definitely a connection between a mother and a child.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, they've proven that too, because, if a child is doing something or is in danger or vice versa, a parent, and I think it's slightly like I don't know, I was listening to someone, I don't know the answers to that, but there is definitely a strong connection. I mean, Spirit can tell me. But
definitely is, but I just feel like with my mom, it's something, not to compare her to other people's parents, but I just feel like the level that she's on is just crazy sometimes.
And you're right.
It's very weird.
So I think you've got some questions, Freddie. You want to take a commercial break before we go into questions, Sally?
I don't mind. And all right, we'll take a commercial break.
And before we go to commercial break, why don't you tell people about your book, how to get it?
Okay, my book. I really would, I don't talk about it enough.
A true story, Call Me Zena, is the telling of Sally Barnard. Born in London, England at the end of the Second World War, she came into the U.S. in 1979. A mother of 2 and a grandmother of 4, she settled in Florida and worked in real estate. While going through a difficult time in her life, she was admitted into a hospital overnight in December of 2005. While settling back into her life, she began having vivid dreams and documenting them. By the 3rd dream, a lady gave her a message to draw. With no artistic background or interest into art or history, Sally listened to her dreams and grabbed a paper and crayons. Today, she has over 150 pieces of inspiring art and poetry. This book follows her journey and interpretations of these messages. She describes in detail on how she is able to astral a project and who she has met along her travels, including her spirit guides. This book will show you how anything is possible with an open mind. These events have changed Sally's life and direction, and this book will show you how to change yours. Purchase Call Me Zena on Amazon today, authorhouse.com and amazon.com.
Thank you for joining me through this journey of self-discovery with the help of my spirit guides. I'm Sally Barnard, and you can find my book at authorhouse and amazon.com, or visit my art on my clothing in my boutique at artbysallybarnard.com. Now back to the show.
I totally forgot Hi, welcome back to my show. Actually, what I was going to say, if you do have my book in front of you, which is great, and I think I opened up with this, ask me questions. If you haven't got my book, if you can buy an ebook even. Just buy it, and then you can go through it. And there are many people that have had my book that are asking me, well, how did that happen? We're more than welcome to ask me the questions on this show, and I'm here to answer them. You'll find it intriguing. This happened to me about 18 years ago. I have another book coming out, but it is still in progress here. But this particular one, everything that happened to me with my journey, with my astral projection, with everything, 100% I have memories of everything that I've written in that book. None of this was coming from memories. So you can get my book on Amazon, Call Me Zena, or you can go into Author House, that was my publisher, and buy the same book there too. Just put Call Me Zena, Sally Barnard, and you'll see me.
And the clothing that you're wearing is on there as well?
And also, yeah, I'm kind of getting lost in that painting behind me here.
I
see,
know.
I've got, I have a clothing on my, I have art with my art on my clothing, and that came to me very similar to which I describe actually what was happening to me in my book, where I was traveling, but I was told that I was able to paint. I never had been able to paint anything in my life. And today, especially in my book, I have sketches that are very meaningful, and Aldo, my guide here, interpreted them. So it's worth looking at and reading.
All right, I think we've got some questions from some viewers.
Yes, I have Alexander Kim from New Jersey felt that she had a unexplained sense of familiarity with someone that she had just met. Could this be a sign of a shared experience? So they're using an isolated incident, never met the person. Is that something that she should jump to a conclusion to think?
Well, I can't say for sure, or she couldn't say for sure, but it's certainly worth exploring. Because if you don't, then you're never going to find out. But I think when you have had, or you have a shared experience, like she is kind of talking about there, that it's very possible, because you can meet someone and you feel very close to them. How do we explain that when you haven't had 2 words with that particular person? But the more you talk, I think you'll get your answers.
But
They'll
do you
come.
run into the experience of energy? So let's say that I meet Dawn. Well, actually, I did meet Dawn. And I had never met her before in my life. And I said, okay, this is somebody that I want to go to another level with in everything that we do. She didn't see that at all. She thought I was like one flew over the cuckoo's nest. And she ran for 4 years. She never ever got a message. And I know a lot of people in Boca, and I went everywhere. I even went where Chuck worked and everything else. And nothing. So this is a good...
That's a very good example.
Yes.
It's a good question, and that was a very good answer to the question, actually, how this plays out. Because Dawn, at that particular time, you may not have been ready, maybe to have even met Freddie, but he was. So it takes time, and look where you guys have come. So don't you feel now that there was something that brought you together? You may not have recognized it then, because timing can be off too with 2 people. So, but timing came to the right place, because here you are and you've been together now doing a show for many years. So basically the outcome is now telling you that that was, Freddie recognized it, but you didn't, but you did later on.
Yeah, 100%. It's like the fairies and the angels. There was this puzzle in my mind that there was just something missing. And when I met Freddie, I realized it was like this last puzzle piece. And once you put it in, it like unlocks everything of what you knew, but no, you didn't think anyone else would know, because you don't tell anybody what you feel, because they'll, for fear of they'll think you're crazy or they won't understand.
But that's all right, because you too, as long as the people know it together, the world doesn't have to know that. But if you feel it,
when someone who's listening or watching your show feels they've got all these puzzle pieces that most make sense, but they need that validation, or there's just this one piece missing, and then you find it and you're thinking, you can't even explain it.
No,
I think most of what we all do is unexplainable by words. It's just to feel.
Unless you've experienced that. And that goes back to what we were talking about out of body, or which we discussed, I believe, last week. Unless you've actually experienced it, it's hard, because it's just something you feel. And that applies to everything that we're talking about.
True.
I mean, I give messages to people, but I'm very lucky and I'm very fortunate and grateful for the fact that they usually give me names. So that person, I know I'm with the right person. It's not, I don't do a lot of messages that way, but when I do, they're very accurate with names, because you don't know. You could be making a lot of this up.
Yeah, but then I have a bigger question. So what you're telling me, from what I'm hearing, maybe I'm deaf, is that you waited 4 years to have someone validate you to do this.
No, I didn't
No.
even realize that was even an option. I
That's
didn't know
right.
it was even a thing.
Perfect.
I just knew what I knew about me. Like I talked to the fairies, like I talked to the angels. I can say, I drive in a parking lot and say I need a parking space, and it would be there. I thought everybody could do these things.
Yeah.
But you were a communications masters.
Yeah, but that wasn't.
You went to school for this.
Yeah, but this
You
is
went-
Not
communication.
from another lifetime.
But
It's
hold
only-
on. Take it easy.
Sorry, but I had
You
to
went to
stop.
school to learn this.
Yes.
You internship at radio stations, some famous people in the business.
Yes.
And here they are is an opportunity for you to express what you've always went to train for. Yet, from what I'm listening to, you wanted to get validation about doing it. So I'm a little confused.
But it wasn't, well, there's two different things. One is the spiritual side of the things
Exactly.
you can manifest, make happen, things that you know of goodness and my unicorns and that side of hope in the world. There's that spiritual side. Then there's the physicality of radio stations and communications and teaching and special needs. That's the business, human side of it. Two different worlds.
And
But you-
timing, and not to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but the timing is
But
very
hold on,
important.
she manifest. I'm going to use your own verbiage.
Manifested.
Okay, so
Well-
here it is. Yet you didn't jump at doing it. I don't understand why you manifest something, but you didn't do it.
Because sometimes life happens and there will be people in the human world that knock you down and tell you you can't.
But what does that have to do with doing it?
Because if enough people tell you you can't, or what you know is black and it's really white, and if enough people tell you, you start to go, it's kind of like gaslighting.
And Dawn is 100% right. It's the big, not to interrupt you, but to help maybe Freddie understand this
Yeah,
too.
help him.
Is
Oh,
that
no, I'm
it's
never
part-
going to understand that.
No, it's part of a bigger picture. The bigger picture played out. Dawn's timing at that particular, this is coming from spirit, your timing was not quite ready. Just like mine, Aldo, you all know who Aldo is, right? My guide. He waited nearly a year and a half, and I was working in the same building as him. We had passed each other. He never even so much as said hello to me. And then I had my beginning of my awakening, and that same day, the next day after the evening, he comes up to me. Only, and I can relate it a little bit to this, because I didn't know I was ready, but obviously I was. I'd had an out-of-body experience, and he was in that dream, quote. Same situation, just a different situation, but the same answer to the question. Dawn was not quite ready, and you were not quite ready to tell people what you had been seeing, because whatever you are, if you think it's normal, there's no need to tell people. I saw things in my childhood, I thought everybody else could do it. But many people say that. So, but you took the initiative, and I'm glad, obviously, look how it all turned
Well,
out.
she took the initiative.
Well, you
When
approached her.
spirit comes and knocks on the door, and you don't answer the door, then everything that you have created is on you. It's not on when you're ready. It's not on anything. If you don't open that door, then how are you going
But
to
she
know? when you're
opened
re-
it. It might not have
hold
been the
on.
same timing.
But listen to the rest of the story. It took 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
It took constant effort. And the only reason that door was open was because of somebody else.
So why do you think why do you think you had this strong drive to continue pursuing?
Look around.
Exactly. But you didn't.
Oh, I know why.
You knew that
I knew.
eventually you knew.
That
But
she would
Dawn
come.
wasn't
No.
ready to know.
No, I
But
didn't
you
know.
continued to.
I can't talk to what you're supposed to or not supposed to do.
But you never stopped looking for her, or maybe
Because
that she would come. 'cause
I
you
was
had this
told to
strong feeling.
continue to find
That's right.
a way. But if it's 10 years from now and I'm still looking, I still continue to look. But the opportunity that she manifested,
Mm-hmm.
not me, that she did. She opened the door. She created it. And look around.
But think about it. I went to undergraduate school as a communications major, communications and psychology,
Yeah.
to do what we do.
Yeah.
Then I went to graduate school for special needs.
Yeah.
And if you look now at what we do here
All of it.
with the foundation,
Absolutely.
that is not me. This is God. This
No,
is
no,
the
no, no,
angels.
no,
There
no,
is
no,
a greater presence that brought all
No,
this
this
forward.
is you following God's plan.
Okay,
I'll
I'll
buy
give you
that.
that.
I'll buy that.
I'll
But
give
the
you that.
object of the game And the reason I'm making this such a big deal of this is because this young lady that's sitting next to us, she has an opportunity to do the same thing, but she has to open the door. You cannot open the door and say, eventually time is now, you can't get time back.
But you know what I think happens is you have to get to that point when your mother called you or whoever, that you're so doing life that you don't know how to get off the floor to make that change. Because if you don't, you know you're going to stay on that floor.
And you know something, that's what I was actually going to say. Sometimes we never even get it until what we call a rock bottom. Because once you hit that rock bottom, it's like life opens up to you.
True.
Because you have nowhere else to go.
Right. It doesn't mean you're living on the streets.
No,
it doesn't necessarily mean
could
you've
be a
lost all your,
relationship.
it could be
anything.
But you
but
just
once
don't know where
you
to go.
hit that, and I know that I had, that everything opened up to me, because what else? I mean, where was I going? I had nowhere to go. Let's say they have nowhere to go but up. It's not really up, but it makes sense in our terminology to say that. And many, many people that have hit their rock bottom, their life changes. And just, you know, the most important, and I say this too, it doesn't matter who you're praying to or whatever it is, but as long as you believe is so very important. Then miracles happen. Miracles, because we're making them happen.
So what I've gathered here so far is that
so
we should not view like spirituality and things like that as just like a 100% thing. We shouldn't say, okay, I'm gonna manifest this and this will completely happen just as I said it will. It's more of a tool. You also have to do your own work. You also have to put in the effort, because nothing's gonna come true just by.
No, it won't.
It's kind of, it's a tool that you can use.
You'll get the situations in front of you, just like Freddie did, but you've got to work at it. It does not work unless you work at it, because you won't even understand what's happening to you if you haven't put in the time to work it.
You got to polish the stone.
You've got to do, but the fact is to have the opportunity to do that. We all have the opportunity.
There it is.
We all have it though, Fred, every one of us.
Absolutely.
We're all human in this world.
Absolutely.
But unless we know that we have that opportunity or something, I was lucky enough, because I must have been very stubborn, that I'm suddenly painting from previous lives. How did Aldo appear? If that hadn't happened, I may still be where I was before that happened.
And Sally's another one that waited 3 years to do this.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
How long have you been here
what I'm
now?
doing here, I've been here 3 years. But what I'm doing now, I'm sorry that I never did this years and years ago, but I didn't know that I could. And I was meant to come here 3 years prior to me coming, but the opportunity arose again.
And that's
it didn't
where the
leave
timing
me.
comes
That's where the
in.
timing comes in.
It's
Although
funny.
there is no time actually.
It's funny, my son yesterday, Gio, because I was talking to him about I should have never left New York. I had everything I wanted in New York, everything. I didn't have to do anything. And he says, no, I'm glad you came to Florida. And I said, why? He says, because that forced you to sell everything we had in New York, and you created AMP. And to him, this is all that matters.
And that raises a really good point, because it's not only just for us, it's for the people that are here. I mean, my kids basically from an early age grew up in America, whereas they could have been in England, but I chose to come to the States, and obviously they were here, so.
It's interesting that one question created all of this conversation, because the learning aspect of something is not just learning it, but it's relearning it. It's taking it to another level in different dimensions and different directions, different color paints, and then it making sense somewhat for you to go to the next level.
And it falls in so easily, actually. When you begin to open your eyes to the fact that there is so much more, we don't necessarily have to see it right in front of us at that time, you'll find that once you believe this, so much, we call it, we've had shows on coincidence and synchronicity. It's synchronicity, and you see how that was. And you can go back into maybe 20 years ago when something happened, which we didn't know at that time what it was. But when you begin to understand this, you'll go, oh, that's why that happened to me. Don't always see it when it happens, but you have much more opportunity to see it once you start believing this. And you'll say, oh my goodness, yes, of course that had to happen to make me where I am now.
Correct.
Don't have to realize it at the same time that it happens. It will happen to you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people get scared of being seen as like crazy, but everybody experienced that. Everybody experiences, wow, if I didn't make this decision, then
That's right.
where would I be now? So I think it's really like limiting for people to think that the world is so black and
well,
white.
so many people don't
It's
feel
just-
that way.
And
Yeah.
it's crazy to me because
yeah.
I'm like, how can you be so confident to say something isn't real or something doesn't exist?
It's really very egotistical, actually.
Yeah, because how do I know that what you're saying is true too?
Exactly. No, that's a very, very good point, because there are many things that happen. You know, people just, I'm not going to say closed-minded, but they just don't want, I mean, if you think about life itself. Think about a baby being born. That's a very good example. How in the world does that happen? When you think about it, a human being is born like that.
It's crazy.
In a woman. But we accept it because we see it, you know, and there's so many things that we question. Don't question it so much. Maybe it is true what people are saying. Deja vu.
Or maybe believe the answer.
They may not believe.
Or maybe believe the answer.
Believe the answer.
You know, it took
yes.
you 3 years to find the right question to answer. And you took the voyage and you did this thing.
Because I followed my passion. I didn't even know what my passion was, actually.
A lot of people don't.
I didn't know it would be bringing me to a show that I'd be doing here. But when I was on it, I never had any nerves on any of this. But I came on, and I believe I remember having an interview. You interviewed me in the other room, and it was difficult. And I said, you know, I love this. I love it. The harder the questions, I enjoy it. But it takes sometimes someone else to bring out what it is, you know, that you have going with what you want to do.
And there's so many things, and you find your validation from your angels and your guides so fascinating that they answer. And what happened with me over the weekend, the numbers and the numerology and the things that come to be, I find it fascinating. I don't, you know.
Tell them the story, Dawn. It's absolutely amazing. Please, it has to be shared if you want to. But
Sure, okay. So my father, my son, and Freddie's father all have the same birthday, which is November 14th. And Freddie's dad and my dad are in heaven, and we know they watch over us. My son's wife was due for a baby November 25th, in 10 days from now. And then some things happened, some potential complications happened last week, and they decided to induce her on November 13th. Thinking, all right, she's going to be coming on the 14th, but you don't know, right? It's still God's will and to see what happens. And even up until that moment of her water breaking and going into labor, was she really going to deliver? And I said, it's really up to God and her at this point, or is she going to wait until the 15th? And literally within 2 hours of that point, they let me know, no, she was coming, and here she was. And to my son, he's got another birthday bud on this day.
yeah.
To me, it was knowing that my father, with the help of your father and God, of course, said, no, we're going to commemorate
And
this
Aldo,
day. And
'cause it's
Aldo, I had to ask Aldo, I called in all my angels for support, that we're going to commemorate this and it not be a sad day, because I woke up Friday morning sad, happy and sad, happy knowing that I was, God willing, having a beautiful granddaughter, but sad because my dad wasn't physically here on his first birthday,
his
not
way
with
of
us.
letting you know.
But I have to tell you, spiritually, he did way more for that day than he could have in his physical body at 86. He would have been.
Absolutely.
He was too weak, and his mind and his body just gave out physically. But spiritually, to see that soul come forward and to know with all his might, he did everything. And even my sister said, one of his most recent last acts of kindness as a great-grandfather and a pediatrician was to bring her into this world, a happy, healthy little girl.
And look at his profession, pediatrician.
Exactly.
Of
So we
course.
knew
So
he
we
was.
knew that, right?
He was watching over her every step of the way. And then my
100%.
daughter-in-law's uncle, he's a pediatrician. And like this full circle moment, just as my dad came in, as Aaron was born and examined him, her uncle walked in to examine the baby, not even having privileges, just to make sure that eyes were on her and to make sure everything was great, even before the neonatologist. So it was this full circle moment of the families coming together and another set of eyes and another pediatrician. There were so many serendipitous things in alignment that if you don't believe, you may never believe.
No, you have
but
to.
For me, it was a whole nother level of faith.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, I mean, you can't deny that. It was amazing. Yeah. Of course, there's much more, I'm going to say, behind the scenes going on. And when you begin to touch behind the scenes, look how your validation, how you're able to enjoy all these things. Me, for a simple, I have a guide white feather. When I need something or I want something that's bothering me to work itself out, I usually find a white feather. I don't find them all the time.
I found one of those too.
And I feel something absolutely touching me here. Like, oh my gosh, I've never said that before. It's going like this. Wow.
It's just remarkable.
Maybe it's my dog.
And I kept thinking you saying that there are no coincidences.
Oh my God, no. My dog's name, one I love, Sabrina.
Wow.
Her name is, I keep saying Sabrina because she would be here touching me. Absolutely.
That's
it's Sabrina.
That is so
because I keep saying Sabrina. She came in to let me know she's listening. That's Aldo, because he said no one was going to take over Sabrina on the other side. He was going to be still with her, so he's still with her. He loved her.
But there's just so many things, and my
gosh.
father would have been 86.
I've never done that before.
Sabrina's here.
Yeah, absolutely, and Aldo's with her because he'd be listening. Did something tingle? Yeah, there you go.
Angel got her wings. You have more questions over there?
I do. That was interesting.
That was. I never even thought about that until I feel that my foot's tickling.
Okay, Charlotte Harris from Michigan writes, I received a message from people I've never met. And it feels like they're speaking to a part of me that I don't understand. Can you explain what I'm going through?
No, I'm not sure if the people, you mean she was here and she heard from...
So she received messages from people she's never met.
So she's hearing from the other side?
Correct.
Yes, okay.
And it feels like they're speaking to a part of her that she doesn't even know exists.
Because they're letting her know something. So now she's aware of it.
But she doesn't even know she had it.
Well, I didn't know I could paint. I got messages that I could. It's the same scenario. I'm no different to this lady or anybody here. We get messages. It's whether we want to believe it or not. The messages are not like out of the ordinary. They're like, go paint. She's hearing something that may be relevant in this lifetime. She's very blessed to have been able to do that and believe it, because they're trying to tell. They can't interfere with our lives. We have free will, but they can guide us on our journey, and that's very, very important. They just told me that. Say, guide us on our journey here. It's still up to us, but we're becoming aware of certain things, right?
I can relate to that because, with music, I think is a good example. I could listen to the same song and not really hear a certain lyric or hear a certain verse, but then one day I'll listen to the song and then something sticks out or pops out at me. I'm like, why am I hearing this right now? What is this trying to tell me? Is this some kind of message?
And I'm so happy that you recognize that, because yes, the song will keep going until maybe it's something in it that you were meant to know. That works that way too. Or a loved one. I often hear, my daughter's name was Louise Caroline. She went by Caroline, and I hear Sweet Caroline definitely when I need to. We can turn the radio, on the car right away. If it's something important, Sweet Caroline will come on.
I saw yesterday at the wedding, these kids were all dancing to music, and they would run up there. I thought they were, I don't know if it was the booze, I don't know what was going on, but they get into this trance, even Gio's wife, and they know every
what's
word.
Her name?
Huh?
What's her name?
Sabrina.
Thank you.
Everybody who gets up and they go, that's my song, that's my this, and they go up there and they start singing it, and it's like they're not in this zone. They're somewhere else. I was shocked.
No, I think that actually happens, because have you seen tribes when they dance for hours and hours and hours, and then you look at them, if you think about it and you're
Different
aware
dimension.
of this, they're in a different dimension. They've got to that point that they've been able to vibrate to a higher dimension. And many people say that. It looks like they're in a trance. They actually are, because they're somewhere else, but they're still dancing. The more they dance, they can go on for hours and hours and hours. Absolutely.
It's just weird. And then they play Suavemente like towards the end of it. And all of them turn around, they're screaming at me to get on the dance floor because, you know,
That's your song.
I've been doing that song for many, many years. It's just different. Music is one
Music
of
is a
those
tool,
things
actually, yeah.
that can travel through different dimensions and affect people
Absolutely.
differently. And I witnessed that at a different height at the wedding.
And you know why you did? Because you're very aware of all this, Freddie.
Well, I was a little
People-
bit scared, I got to tell you.
Well, fear will take it away, but at least you saw that. I mean, many people see people dancing into like a frenzy or whatever they would call it, but they're lifting their vibrational energy, and that will take you to eventually to another dimension. You come back because we're here.
That's why I love raving. It's very fun. Like
Raving?
going to raves, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like the dance, like if you're,
Raves,
Raves.
the dance party.
That's what I thought I was at.
exactly. That's
saying.
what I'm. Yeah, that's what I'm
It was a
saying.
rave.
Like it's so much fun, just like the music and like feeling
you
the
acted out?
vibrations.
You're feeling it.
Yeah, I definitely feel the music. Like
Yeah,
I felt
that's
so
right.
free. Just like
Yeah,
doesn't.
that's right.
I don't
It's
know.
deep.
I
It's
wish
just
you
so
were
much
there
fun.
yesterday on Saturday because
Well, I
you
was
could have
invited.
explained it to me because I
Good
was like,
answer.
and then the music is so loud, it goes through you.
Like you don't have time to think anything. You just feel like.
And it's a form of it, in a way, meditation, actually. It's meditating.
Wow.
You're meditating yourself
Wow.
to a higher dimension,
Well, I mean,
to
I
a
didn't
higher
see that
level.
coming.
There's so much attached to that. It's such a good thing to actually talk about, because people dance, and how do years ago, I don't know if they still do it, they used to dance for 24 hours, or whoever
Well,
could
these
stand
kids
up.
didn't stop.
But they used to have competitions, I think, like that.
Well, they still do, but this was even
They do?
Sabrina.
For hours?
They do for days. I
Wow,
seen
I didn't know
Sabrina. I've never seen her like this.
My God, Sabrina you keep calling her. So
And
she's-
everybody got to know Sabrina. Everybody
Yeah.
loves Sabrina,
Yes,
and they were
Sabrina.
dancing.
Everybody-
I have never seen Gio's wife act this way in all the years that I've met her. It was like a whole different level.
See,
Something
I
took this
think
place
spirit,
over.
you know what? Someone said this the other day. Spirit, drinking is spirit, right? So if you drink a lot, you suddenly are uninhibited, I guess. You're just like in a different level. So it's setting something off, because part of your, why do they call it spirit? Think about it.
Because it raises your awareness.
Yes, but you don't want to stay there. I mean, unfortunately, it can get bad because you may not want to stop that feeling.
Maybe we should take world leaders and put it into a room with
Well,
music and spirit.
this is true. This is very true.
And we will get a whole lot
try it
further
out.
than what we, right?
Since none of the
worth a
world
try.
listeners they're listening to the show, we can talk about them.
I gotta tell you, I have never experienced anything like that. And then the conversations, and this is what I was telling you. I've known these people for years, and they asked if I was still doing my radio show. I had people offering me deals. I got 3 deals coming in January with people that I didn't know anything of, but all this vibration was creating like rooms of discussion.
It would. That actually is what we talk about, because when you reach that vibrational energy, other people are there that you're meant to meet. We talk about this often in the studio. Even you sitting here, you were at that vibration that led you to that chair, right? So it's the same thing was happening to you there. You raised your vibration, so you were then aware of everybody else on that higher
I
vibration.
had people that I had never talked to in years. I knew of
There
them.
you go.
And they came up and pulled up a chair.
There
And
you
I'm
go.
looking around and talking to me. I'm looking around saying, "You talking to me?"
Because you can see and hear more. Either where I am when I do my show, I'm not on the vibration that I am when I'm walking around here or outside driving a car. I am on a higher vibration right now. And I'm attracting the people in spirit that are able to talk to me. Everybody can do what I'm doing. Most people don't know that they can do it. They don't. You have to believe it. We're
It
all
can be
psychic.
intimidating though, a little bit.
If you're not ready, Dawn, it can. Yes, absolutely. I probably wasn't ready till about 20 years ago when it happened to me, but suddenly I was ready. I think we're ready to end the show. Yeah,
Got
we've
2
got
minutes,
it right
yeah.
in front of me, and I never saw it.
Intimidation is good because it means you're listening.
Yes.
You ever notice that if you say something so off the wall, people say, "What? Can you repeat that again?"
Yeah.
But if you say a compliment to somebody who doesn't want to be complimented, they'll just
It
blow
goes
you away.
over their head.
Whatever.
Exactly. Yes. It's communication.
Going against the grain.
You know, I'm going to end the show on, which we may do next week, communication and imagination. We need both those things. So if you can communicate your imagination, and this is coming from somewhere else, it's not from me, then you know what? You're on the right track. Thank you, guys. I think we're nearly at the end of the show.
We're good.
And I'll see you next week.
Get Sally's book.
Get my book and ask me questions. Even if you just get an ebook and ask me the questions.
Or come into the studio.
Or coming, yeah, locally, it goes without saying.
Good
Please
show
come
today,
into the
Sally.
show.
Good show.
The show, the studio. Thank you, guys.
You have been watching Call Me Zena with your host, Sally Barnard. As an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer, know that you can always seek me out for resources by visiting artbysallybarnard.com. Join us next week, Mondays at 2:30. Have a blessed day.